Hello. So I wanted to talk to you about the Venus sequence. The Venus sequence is a process by which you can learn to master the art of love and relationships. And there are lots of elements to learning about your Venus sequence, and how that can transform the wounding patterns around our hearts that we carry, and the trauma that our body sometimes carries from our childhood and even from our ancestral DNA. And when you come into the Venus sequence, one of the things you'll learn about is different types of chemistry in relationships. And each kind of relationship has its own chemistry. And it's quite specific, the Venus sequence, these teachings, because they're based on the gene keys, and they show us specific chemistries. It's taken from the time, date, place of our birth, and it's really fascinating. And each chemistry has its own challenges. So that's the first thing to realize, is there's no such thing as a perfect chemistry. You know, the closest one you might kind of look at is called romantic chemistry, where there's a real harmonic between you. But even that can't be easily managed because it needs distance to make it thrive. So you need a different kind of, you can't live together easily. You need to be apart a lot of the time. So even the one that looks really good, and they all look good in different ways, they all have their challenges, And the ones that we attract through our attractor field, through our kind of karma, that we get the one we get. So the Venus sequence helps you to understand the one you've got and how to make the most of it. And it's quite a thing to learn. The ultimate chemistry, I wanted to say here, is the chemistry of aloneness. Because when you're alone, one of the things you really feel is you feel your natural chemistry, right? When you don't have so much touch, then you're really put in touch with your own inner being. And one of the touch is it's a real issue at the moment in the world, like being able to touch each other or not, because touch is the first of the 5 senses that develops in the womb. It's the first one that comes online, because it's about movement. The fetus feels its existence through the movement and the touch, the sense of touch. So because it's the first sense, it's the primary sense. So if we can't be touched by another physically, then part of us might begin to doubt that we actually exist at some very deep level. We begin to enter into fear and loneliness because we fear, we begin to maybe feel more empty, which is what loneliness is about. You start to feel that emptiness. And what the Venus sequence can do is it can guide you deeper into your aloneness. So if you feel lonely, as many of us are, then often that's an invitation to go deeper into your own being, into your, some of the loneliest people in the world are actually in relationships, but they've fallen into patterns that just really don't nourish them. And what the Venus sequence does is it helps you to see these patterns and break out of them. And it isn't about fixing the other person, It's not about that at all. And it's not about finding or attracting the perfect mate. It's not about that either. All of that is out of our hands. What is in our hands, right, is like how we can accept the conditions right now and use them for our own spiritual advancement, whether you're alone or whether you're in a deep relationship. So if you're in a deep relationship, you use that. And if you're not, you use that. And unless you have really learned deep self-love, then your relationship's going to be difficult anyway. It's all going to be difficult. So when you are alone, as the poet Rilke said, sing out with your aloneness. You're not a victim. It's an invitation to go deeper within, into the ache, into the ache for the touch, for for that sense of being, and go into that place of fear. And you'll find that beyond and behind that fear lies a different world, a world of soul, Your soul is behind that, deep in that aloneness. And your soul connects you to the radiance of your being, a being that is so beautiful because it's rooted in the source of all being. So you can never be alone when you really dive deep into that aloneness. So relationships are wonderful, but they can also be places where we just play out all our addictions. So we have to learn to use them for our growth. This is what the Venus sequence teaches us. To move from codependence through independence to interdependence. And what is interdependence? It means you can now enjoy both your connectedness to others and your aloneness at the same time. Instead of like being in one and always wishing for the other, the person in relationships always wishing for freedom. And the one who's alone is always wishing for connection, Ultimately, in interdependence, those two aspects come together. This is what I call the chemistry of one. It's inherently healthy. It's inherently wholesome. And it helps us. It's the very ground of being in the world and being a whole being and enjoying all the love of our own chemistry and all the connections with others. And so these are really powerful insights that you can follow and learn all about through your Venus sequence. And I look forward to introducing you to more of these subjects and learn about your chemistry, learn about your own being, and help find ways to connect deeply with the soul of your being and therefore with the soul of love itself. So come and find out more from the Venus sequence. Look forward to sharing that.